State Training and Employment was established in 1989 to create a 2-year pilot program to increase training opportunity for Alaskans severely affected by fluctuations in the economy or by technological changes. It is fully funded by the unemployment grant, by the unemployment that everyone pays into. The AWEB established high priority industries and goals for STEP each fiscal year. And we oversee Alaska's workforce investment system and guide STEP and other state-driven employment and training opportunities. The purpose of STEP is to enhance the quality and accessibility of in-state training and employment services, and to meet the workforce needs of employers in the state. To increase resident employment in industries where a high number of non-residents are working, to reduce unemployment insurance claims, and to foster economic growth in all regions by meeting employer demand for a skilled workforce. These high demand industries are still construction, information technology, education, natural resource development, transportation, hospitality and tourism, maritime and seafood processing, and healthcare. Types of training allowed: customized employment training, industry-specific training, on-the-job training, registered apprenticeship, and quality pre-apprenticeship. Customized employment training is training that's designed to meet the specific workforce development needs of a business that will result in individuals acquiring the skills and knowledge necessary to be hired. Training for existing employees to upgrade skills to meet new job conditions, such as becoming knowledgeable about new technologies, equipment and products, and processes. Industry-specific training teaches individuals technical knowledge and hands-on skills to perform the tasks of the specific occupation. OJT training, on-the-job training, provided by an employer at the workplace with paid work experience opportunities and a structured learning processes in place. All apprenticeship programs must register with the U.S. Department of Labor, Office of Apprenticeship. Grant applicants must submit current proof of current federal registration. Quality pre-apprenticeship. Pre-apprenticeship is a program or a set of strategies designed to prepare individuals to enter and succeed in a registered apprenticeship program where there is a formal agreement with at least one or more federally registered programs for either direct recruitment or direct entry into the RA program. Types of training not allowed: soft skills, that is training not appropriate under the STEP grant. Soft skills include workforce readiness, communication, enthusiasm and attitude, teamwork, networking, problem solving and critical thinking, and professionalism. Training for a degree. A participant can earn college credit, but the degree program itself cannot be supported or charged to the STEP program. They can't just be looking to get their degree. If they happen to get a degree or earn credits towards a degree while they're actually going for their certification in order to keep their job or to upskill, that's fine, but the goal cannot be just to get a degree. Training that occurs outside of the grant year, before July 1st or after June 30th. Even if you pay for something during the fiscal year, the activity has to occur during the fiscal year. It can't be charged to the grant if it takes place outside. Participant eligibility requirements. To be eligible for STEP funding, participants must be an Alaska resident. Proof of Alaska residency is proved through an Alaska driver's license or a state ID. They must have worked in a position covered by unemployment insurance in Alaska or any other state within the last 5 years. If they are unemployed, they have to have applied for, been receiving unemployment benefits, or have exhausted the right to UI benefits within the past 5 years. In order to prove that they've paid into unemployment, it can be determined through copies of payroll stubs, W-2s, letters from employers attesting they contributed to the UI fund on behalf of the individual, or the participant can self-attest they have been contributed to an unemployment insurance within the last 5 years. The case management system that we use is Alaska Jobs. That has not changed. Alaska Jobs is the case management that will be used for grantees to enter the participants' personal identifiable information. Grantees are responsible for entering participants into Alaska Jobs before submitting their reimbursement requests. The grant management team will be checking the progress reports to verify participant information and numbers. Each participant must have a service included for research and analysis to pull data. In order for them to show up on the report at all, they have to have a service entered in their program section. If you are a new grantee or are unfamiliar with Alaska Jobs, please contact the grant management team for assistance and training. All participants must have a profile in Alaska Jobs. They should create their own profile, but a grantee may create that profile for them if they are unable to do so on their own. That is something you can request aid with from the grant management team if you are unable to. If they don't have their profile set up, which they should, especially if they apply for unemployment, they should have a profile in Alaska Jobs already. But if not, you can go and create that profile for them. Completed step applications must be uploaded to Alaska Jobs within 30 days of starting the class or training. We do prefer that they are put in within 10 days to make sure that the information is either lost or forgotten. All certificates, credentials must be that are earned must be uploaded to Alaska Jobs as soon as they become available. If they're going to be available outside the program year, or if you're going to be waiting on something to come through, if it's coming from an outside organization, you can substitute this with a certificate of completion, something that shows they did complete the class and that you are waiting for that certificate to come in. You can exit the participants immediately upon entering them into Alaska Jobs, provided the participant is done with classes for the program year. You would just use the start date as the end date. We really need to know that they were serviced during the program year. Progress reports, they are due on the 10th of each month. When you are completing the progress report, you tell us everything that happened during the month, if anything what was going right, what was going wrong. We expect you to keep a running total of participants who have been trained to date. All participants must be entered into Alaska Jobs before submitting your reimbursement. If there will be any delays in providing the report, let us know as fast as you can. The monthly progress report is now 4 pages long, and you have to navigate from page to page to make certain that all fields have been completed. Reimbursement requests are due on the 15th of each month. The final reimbursement is due on July 10th. If there are no expenditures for any given month, the grantee should submit a request of $0 for that month. All participant data should be entered into Alaska Jobs before submitting the monthly reimbursement requests. Grant staff will verify the participant information in Alaska Jobs and the grantee's progress reports. Please note, the reimbursement will be held until the progress report for the month has been submitted. Even during months when you have no activity, all the reports have to be submitted. You can let us know that there's no activities taking place. But you still have to put the reports in on time.
Hold on for 1 second, Sean. Margie is asking questions about the fiscal year, about the timing of when reimbursements or when they can charge to the grant. And I just want to make sure it's clear that the state's fiscal year is from July 1st through June 30. And all of our programs, no matter which part of the state you're in, must follow the state's fiscal year. When the grant agreement is executed, it's always going to stick from July 1 through June 30. So any activity that occurs outside of that time frame will be considered disallowed. And there is no way to change that.
Spending plans will be submitted in egrams. Spending plans show the AWEB how funds are planned to be expended throughout the year. We need you to submit your spending plan as soon as you start the grant. So come up with a generalized idea of how much you're going to be spending per month. If you're unfamiliar, if you're worried that you might not be able to have something that accurate, take the amount of your grant, divide it by 10, and then put it in for each month. That way, in January, you will submit an updated version. You're going to put in everything you've spent during that month, so that will be accurate. And then have an estimate of what you'll be spending with the remaining of your funds from July until the end of June. The spending plan is also how you're going to be letting us know if you will be giving money back to the state. You are not going to spend all the money that we've granted. We appreciate you letting us know as soon as possible. If you know that you're going to be returning $10,000, there's a chance we can use that money to help somebody else. Amendment requests. At times, a grantee may need to adjust around their budget to move funding around. All amendment requests must be made in writing. Grantees can move 10% of a category themselves, but they must submit the request in writing to the AWEB. Please include all details of the amendment requests, including the purpose and why it is necessary. We will only be accepting grant amendment requests, one per quarter. Okay, so if you need to go and make any changes, make them all at once for that quarter. The grant management team will notify you of the status of the amendment request and provide instructions on the amendment process if approved. The final amendment request must be submitted no later than May 15th. A program monitor evaluates your program to ensure compliance with the program. The monitor is broken into two parts, the program side and the financial side. The grantee will be given at least a 1-month notice of monitor so as not to create a surprise. The grantee will receive a monitor guide in advance, which should be completed before our arrival, or if it is done online before the meeting. On the day of the monitor, the grant management team will have an entrance meeting to go over the monitor process and provide technical assistance. During the monitoring, the program coordinator and grant administrator will meet with the program staff working with the grant. We will ask questions, clarify things, or check your understanding. At the end of the monitor, the grant management team will have an exit meeting to share what we have found during the monitor. Within 45 days, the grant management team will provide a monitor report to the grantee if there were any findings. The grantee has 45 days to give a response outlining what they did to correct the problem. Funding limits. Each organization is limited to no more than their awarded amount, the awarded amount. The cost per participant may not exceed $10,000, including training-related support services provided by the organization or in combination with another organization receiving STEP funds. Applicants may provide additional funding for their own if the costs exceed $10,000. STEP funds are for the direct benefit of the participants attending training. 60% of funding must be spent on activities directly benefiting the participant. This requirement is new for this upcoming year. STEP funding is not intended to replace or supplant existing resources for training. STEP funding cannot be leveraged against other department funding requested by partner organizations. The use of funds for personnel or subcontractors must be clearly defined and necessary to meet the goals of the grant. Are there any questions on this? That is the end of that part of the presentation. Do we have any questions so far?
On the 60% cap for direct benefits, how either broadly or specifically is that defined? Like if an individual had to travel, a staff member had to do travel to benefit an individual's training, and that was a necessary component, would that still fall under the 60%, or would that be kind of considered outside of that portion?
That would, because that is directly going to benefit the participants. If getting the instructor to the participants to teach their class, that would directly benefit them.
Got it. Thank you.
We have any other questions on that part of the program?
There's a question regarding the indirect rate. RGA page 15 or page 11 says 15%, and then I get the application says 10%. It is 15%. We just have to change the verbiage in that within the application. Sorry about that. The grantee is required to submit a budget revision if their match portion changes.
Their match portion changes?
You talk about your contribution, or is that referred to your contribution?
Yeah.
Brandon? So to answer the question more specifically, when you submit your amendment request, if there are any changes that you're making to contribution or to your budget, you'll do an amendment request. Just really quick, I know the 60% for participant services or for the participant is new to many of the STEP grantees. It's going to be a case-by-case basis because many of you have different ways of submitting your budgets. And so once approvals have been set for FY26, we will work with each applicant to ensure that you're meeting the 60%.
Another question, where can I get a copy of the final RGA? Do you want to show them on in egrams how they can get to that?
Share the chat.
And here's the egrams page.
So it's egrams on the home page. You scroll down to the STEP program. Click on step 26. There's 3 tabs. Go to documents. Yeah, RGA is right there.
And this final draft. Okay, does anybody have any further questions on this? And this is where you will be.
Fifty or the 60?
60.
It says in the grant, it says 50%. It was raised up to 60 apparently.
Page 10 states 50 on the RGA. It does say 50%. Yeah, that's fine. You just leave it at the 50%.
To keep things succinct, we're going to stick with the 50% instead of the 60% that we described, mentioned here. So we'll just stick with the 60%. Margie, to answer your question, Margie asked the question, training provided must result in some sort of certification, correct? But does that certification need to be tied to obtaining a job change, or salary increase? As example, if someone is trained to be a certified trainer of other staff in a topic area, can we use step fund to cover those training costs? All right, so Margie, to ask your question specifically, that's considered train the trainer. And so step can cover costs to train the trainer. And the other part of your question is, can it be used to for job increase or salary increase, job change, or obtaining a job? Yes. So the premise for STEP is to train individuals to get a job, maintain their current job, or increase their wage. The only thing that STEP cannot do in this case is it cannot pay for a degree. You cannot be going into a professional position. Professional positions, those positions that requires a degree to get, such as becoming a lawyer, becoming a doctor, or things of that nature. So STEP cannot cover those kinds of things. As Sean mentioned earlier, it does have specific industries that it focuses on. However, as you're writing your grant proposals, if your application doesn't necessarily meet that criteria, you just need to do well enough to explain why you feel that your program is a good project for STEP to take on. I hope that makes sense. Next question, if our program isn't working in any other specific workforce professional highlighted, because I just answered that. Well, I saw your question. So, and again, Sarah, the second part of your question, young adults between 18 and 24, there is no age requirement on STEP. Believe it or not, it doesn't say they have to be 18, doesn't say they have to be less than 55 or anything like that. So there is no age restriction on STEP. So as you are writing your proposal, just make sure if it doesn't fit in the what we've gone over as priority industries, just explain why you believe it is your project is a benefit for STEP. third part of the question, if we still can quality with certificates like food handler cards that we pay for, peer support specialist certificates that we provide, or something like youth mental health certificate quality as industry recognized certificates. So as long as what you're doing is leading them to employment by the end of the program, that's the premise for STEP. Get trained to maintain their job, move to a different job, move up in their current job, or get a new job. Any of those things could potentially qualify for STEP funding. And just FYI, I'm not taking over. Sean is doing 3 things at once, so I'm helping him out.
Any other questions?
Is everyone okay with the application itself, the application process? Are you familiar with egrams? Are there specific questions that you have about egrams that we can show you? I say this every year as you are going through egrams to work on your project. My recommendation is that you start with the budget first. The budget is where most people have the most problems. Go through the budget section of egrams, put all of think about how much you want to request. Sean already told us that the maximum that an agency can apply for is 400,000. Look, and there's a max per participant. Please, please, please keep that in mind as you are putting or developing your budget. Keep that 10,000 amount in your minds. Here's what's been happening over the past few years. What we want our grantees to do is provide as much services to the participant that they can to prevent sending those participants to the job center. If a participant goes to the job center, they're going to have to provide a lot more information to them than they would to you, to your agency. So if you can provide as much services to the participant as you can to prevent them from going to the job center, if you can, you still might have the same participants there, but our ultimate goal is to try to limit the traffic that is coming through the job center. So provide as much services to the participant as you can. That's why you have up to 10,000. I know that when you look at how much you can apply for, it may not necessarily suit your entire need, but do as much as you can for the participant as you can. Right, Lucy asked, for the budget tables, is the subaward the grant amount for the STEP grant, and then the sub-recipient contribution would be the match we contribute to the project? That is correct. So the subaward amount is the amount the agency is asking for, and then the sub-recipient contribution is the amount that you're contributing to the project. All right, the website where the PowerPoint we house would be awib.alaska.gov. awib.alaska.gov.
We have any other questions on the program?
On page 11 of RJ states that we need strong documentation justification that the participant will obtain or maintain employment because of training. Is this implying that we ourselves will either hire them or we have an agreement with another place of business that can promise this? I apologize. I know you touched on this. I just want to be clear. All right, great question. The answer is yes and yes. Some agencies focus only on the training aspect and have partnership with other agencies. A good example of this would be the unions. So the unions they'll focus on the training aspect, and then they have contractors that they have that will employ the people that they've trained. And then there are agencies that actually train individuals to hire them. So it could be either or both. It depends on the structure of your organization.
Do you have any other questions?
Is everyone comfortable? I know I asked this earlier, but I just want to make sure. Is everyone comfortable with the application process enneagrams? Are you familiar with how the application works? Knows what it looks like? John, you don't count. You don't count, John. All right, Sarah. Okay, so what we'll do, yes, you can copy and duplicate the previous years. However, please, when you do that, be careful and make sure you update the information in all places. Sometimes when you copy it from a previous year, there are references to the previous year that have not been updated, and that is usually caught during the reviews. So please, if you copy an application from a previous year, make sure you update the information, and particularly the budget. All right, so you want to go ahead, you want me to share the budget or the application itself, or
Sure.
you want to
Sure.
do it up there?
Go ahead. I'll stop sharing.
All right, guys, I'm going to share my screen with you in a couple of minutes here. And if you have questions at any given time, please interrupt me. Don't be scared, as I always say. Can everyone see my screen? Okay, great. All right, so I am in the application as a grantee right now. My name for this sake is Count Dracula. Don't judge me. All right, so this is how your screen will look once you log in. To get to the application, I'm going to go grantee, grant application, enter grant application.
Project director request.
This is after you submit a project director request, right? Is there anyone here that has not submitted a project director request?
Maps has not. We are waiting for UAF, I think, to make the decision.
Okay, all right, so To submit a project direct request, you're gonna go grantee administration, project director request. Okay, so grantee administration, project director request, right? It's gonna show you your name and your agency, and it's gonna ask you if that's correct. You simply select yes. You wanna select the grant category. The grant category is the program itself. So I'm gonna select STEP. Right? And then under grant program, I'm going to select the current year's grant. So step 26. You click OK. It's going to ask you to confirm that's what you want to do. Once you've done it, then we're going to get an email on our side that states that this individual would like to do a project direct request for FY26 for STEP. 9 times out of 10, we're going to approve it. You only need to do this once per agency. So each individual does not need to submit a project director request for themselves, just one for the agency. And the person that submitted that project director request is the one that has full control initially. They have to assign each person that's going to work on the grant. Okay, they must assign them so that each person can be on the grant once the grant is awarded. Right, to assign people, you go grantee administration, and then it's, where is it at? Assign agency users. You select the grant that you want to assign. In this case, I'm going to do FY26 and then click find. So there's only 2 people in my agency, Count Dracula and then Xavier Phillips. Count Dracula is the only one that's assigned this grant right now. And I can tell because perm status is checked. If I wanted to assign Xavier, I simply select what role he's going to be under perm code. And I'm going to make him the authorized official. And I'll make him reports admin. All right. And then I'm going to click OK. Once I click OK, Xavier's going to have access. It's as simple as that. All right. Now that I've got everyone assigned, I'm going to go grantee, grant application, enter grant application. And I'm going to just click on the application that I'm going to enter. You're going to get a pop-up message that tells you the deadline for the application. So in this case, the application deadline is March 31st at 11:59 p.m. This is another change that we made this year. Instead of making it at 5 o'clock like we've done in our history, we decided to allow everyone till almost midnight to get the applications in. That way you don't feel pressured or rushed and feel like you got to get it at the very last minute. So we're giving you till 11:59 p.m. on the 31st to get the application in. So I'm going to click OK this message. And now I can go ahead and enter information. Yes, Ruth.
Just wanted to add that after 5 p.m.
We won't be here.
We won't be here, so there won't be any help if there's any glitches in the system. We won't be able to assist with that.
So keep that in mind. Again, I recommend working on the budget first because the budget is where most people have the glitches. That's where they find that they can't get things to add up correctly or they've done something wrong somewhere and they can't figure out where it is. I'm going to purposely make a few mistakes in the budget so you can see how to fix those mistakes. The other thing I recommend is there are tabs for each section. So you got the overview, you got the project, you got the budget, attachments, and certifications. When you complete a section, validate that section as you're going. That way you can easily find the error that you have. Okay, once you go to submit it, it'll tell you the errors, but you can't click on the error to get to be able to fix it. It's just going to give you a list. If you validate as you go, it'll show you where the error is. You can click on the error and it'll take you to the page and highlight the error for you. I'm going to purposely make some mistakes so you can see that. All right, so this is the overview. It's just the overview of your agency. To move to the next page, I can either click the save and arrow or the arrow on the far right on the other side of show tree. Okay, so I'm just gonna click save and next. Well, I don't like that on this one. Let me click the arrow over here. All right, so is your organization affiliated with any other STEP applicant? So if you're a partnership with another STEP applicant, this is your opportunity to say yes, and then give us some details of the partnership. Okay. There's another section that says, tell us about your organization. This is where you get to tell us all about what your agency does, when it was established, the types of things that you do. That way you can focus when we get to the application itself, you can focus on what you're asking for. All right, so we try to give you lots of room. Keep in mind that there is a character limit in each section. Okay, the character limit for most sections is 1,024 characters. That's not words, that's characters. So that includes letters, numbers, punctuation marks, spaces, you name it. If it's a character, it's counted. So I recommend writing the application in Word and then copying it over. So you can see Word will tell you exactly how many characters you have. Depending on the browser you use, eGrams may or may not give you the character count. Okay. All right, on the next page, we are asking if you are the implementing agency, right? Hopefully the answer is yes. If not, say no and tell us who the agency is that's going to be the implementing agency. All right, this is also on D. You tell us when your project is scheduled to begin and end. So it cannot go beyond the fiscal year. So 6/30 is the drop dead date where it cannot go beyond that date. But if your project is ending sooner, you can put that end date there. Okay, so let's say your project is actually from October 1st through January 30th. You'll enter those dates here. Okay, just keep your time frame within the grant year. All right, you also put the amount of funds that you are requesting. All right, so again, the max that an agency can apply for is 400,000. But I'm going to say I'm going to apply for 200,000. Right, and the project cost is the total cost that including your contribution. So if I'm going to contribute 400,000, then my total cost, project cost must be 600,000. Okay, does that make sense? Now, while I'm on this page, if you put this amount in here at the beginning, make sure your budget matches this. If the budget does not match this, you're going to get an error. Email is going to tell you this doesn't match. Okay. Make sure that what you put on this page for the amount requested and the total project cost matches the budget. So the budget must be 400,000 and the amount requested must be 200,000 for a total of 600.
So if you don't have a contribution, your project cost will just be 200,000.
Yes. Okay. Right now, on the next page of the project information, it's asking for the number of participants you plan to train. Okay. Now, please know that we're asking you to project what you believe you're going to do in FY26. This is February. It's almost impossible to know exactly how many participants you're going to train and how much funding you actually are going to need. We're asking you to make the best guesstimate that you can. We know that this is probably going to change as we get closer to the start of the fiscal year, if you're awarded, but give your best estimate. Okay. A lot of agencies try to go above and beyond because they think the more participants they train is going to get them the most award, or they have a better chance of being awarded. Believe it or not, that's really not what the review committee is looking at. They're looking at the nature of the project itself. While numbers do matter in many cases, what matters most is how well the project is written Is it understandable? Do they have the capacity to do what they proposed? Okay, so if, don't say you're going to train 5,000 when the real number is 10. Okay, so I'm going to say 15 here. Right, and don't worry about the cost, the grant cost per participant. Once you get the budget in, that's automatically going to fill it. That's why it's spread out. It's going to fill it in for you. Please come back to this page once you got your budget filled in and everything else is filled in. After you validate, come back to this page and look and see what your grant cost per participant is, because if it's more than 10,000, your application will be denied. Okay, so keep that in mind. Right. In H, it says in 250 characters or less, please describe the main objective of your project. All right, we just need a little synopsis of what your project is doing overall. If you were in the elevator with me and you had to sell your project, and we're only going from floor 1 to floor 3, what would you tell me in that short amount of time to get me to buy into your project? Okay. Next question is, please describe the contributions you plan to use for the project. Just talk about the contribution that you're going to make toward that project. Okay. Spell. We will contribute. Don't put what I'm putting, guys. Go into more detail. I'll just put this for you guys. Right, now, the next section is contact type. There are several contact types in eGrams. So 2 things I want to share with you. Number 1, the person that is a contact does not have to have an eGrams profile just yet. Once a grant is approved, then they would need to have, we need to add them into eGrams. But for the applications purposes, they do not need to have an eGrams profile. All right. Second thing I want to make sure you understand is there are 6 different types of individuals we need into Alaska Jobs, and you must select one for each. Right, so we need someone that's going to do your Alaska Jobs data entry. The authorized official is the one that can commit the agency to contracts. The Equal Employment Opportunity Officer is self-explanatory. Financial officer is the one that's going to be submitting reimbursements. Project director is the one that's overseeing the project. And then the reporting person is the person that maybe they're going to be submitting reimbursements, but they're mostly going to be focusing on submitting progress reports. Okay, you must select one for each one. If one is missing, eGrams is going to let you know. Okay, this is next section is we're in the project description now, the project overview. This is where you get to tell us more in depth about your project. Remember, STEP is not intended to augment. I'm sorry.
Replace.
It's not intended to replace your current budget, but to enhance what you're doing already. It's not intended for a budget replacement. Many times we receive comments or requests urgently because we're going to have to lay people off. It's not intended to be a budget replacement. It is intended to be an enhancement to your current project, to help build up your project, to help employ people, to help grow your agency, not replace your budget. If you understand the crisis that we're in right now, funding could go away at any time, and we don't want the burden of knowing that because of STEP funding, your agency has to close. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So it's not intended to be a budget replacement. It's supposed to be an enhancement to your current budget. Best way I can explain it is with the way your agency operates right now, without any STEP funding, you're able to train 20 people comfortably, don't need any additional funding whatsoever. But there's an influx of people coming in that you would like to train, but you don't have the resources available to do so. You can apply for step funding to help train those additional people coming in. Your budget can be used to train what you normally do, and then use step funding to train the additional people that you normally couldn't do. That's just one example, not the only example. That's just one example. Okay. And I'm scrolling down. As I scroll down, please don't forget to scroll down because each question or each section might have more questions down below. Select the regions that you're going to be focusing on. Identify the single category that best describes the proposed training. Okay, is it workforce-based learning? Is it industry-specific, customized, job-linked, pre-apprenticeship, or other? And if you select other, there's going to be a drop-down box that asks you to explain what it is. Okay, identify the industries. You can select more than one. Are you construction? Are you healthcare? Are you information technology? Are you natural resources? Hopefully you won't be all of them. We did have applicant one time just select everything. Don't do that. Just select the ones that you're going to be focusing on. Okay. If the training being provided is not in a priority industry, please give an explanation why it should be considered for this grant opportunity. Okay, hopefully that's understandable. Is the proposed training targeting Alaska workers in an effort to reduce non-residents working in occupations and industries identified in the 2025 non-residents working in Alaska report. So there's a link in the RGA that you can click on to find information, see if you're targeting that, and it automatically updates every year. Okay, and if not, it's okay to say no. On the questions down below, it's just asking specific, are you focusing on recruiting incarcerated individuals? Are you focused on women and minorities? Are you focused on individuals in the healthcare industry and so on? It's okay to say no if you're not focused on these individual things. Okay, it doesn't mean that you won't get awarded if you're not. Right. On this section, you want to indicate the credentials that the participants will receive. Okay. It'll tell us what occupations, the number of hours it's going to take, the number of apprentices that's going to be served or journey workers that will be served. And if you're not an apprenticeship, you scroll down and there's another section for you. You don't have to fill out both sections. You can fill out just one of those sections. Okay. All right, participant support services. We would like for you to tell us the types of services that your participants will receive while they're in training. Okay. This even includes partner organizations. So if you're sending participants to the Job Center for any type of support services, you want to indicate that here. Again, I want to reiterate, we would prefer that the agency with step funding will use their step funding to provide what the participant needs. And if you are unable to do so, then you can send it to the Job Center. We just want to reduce the burden on the participant because once they go to the Job Center, they are subject to the Job Center's rules and regulations at that point. And we will not be able to assist the participant at that point.
Every participant gets every certificate we offer. Is that an issue?
It's okay if they don't receive every certificate you offer. Again, the goal for STEP is to obtain, maintain employment. And there are some cases where they may not get a certificate while they're in training, but they need this training to get a job or to maintain their job. That's okay. That's okay. Not every position is going to require some type of certificate. The certificates that we're talking about are certificates that that they can use anywhere they go. So if they obtain a certificate here in the state of Alaska, but move to Texas, they should be able to take that same certificate and be able to use that certificate to show that they've gotten that training and can do that job that they're applying for there. Does that make sense? Okay. On this page is a mock-up of your training schedule. Okay. Again, we're asking you to project early And we understand that it's difficult to give an exact schedule now, but give us an overview of when you plan to do the types of training. Okay, and we tried to provide examples above. So in August, we're going to start prepping for MSHA training that will occur in September. Then September, the MSHA training occurred, and it's from September 1st through 7th. Okay. It doesn't have to be long, detailed, just something that gives us a brief overview of how the training is going to occur. All right, now we want to talk about your partners. So every agency that you're partnering with to provide the training itself, please list them here. This is very important. One thing we've not shared with you in times past, the reason why the partner agencies are important is when we go to submit these applications for review, the review committee has to tell us if they have a conflict with any of the agencies that have applied. That includes partner agencies. So if you're partnering with an agency, please list them here so that we know, or the review committee knows, who they may have a conflict with. Does that make sense? All right, on the next page is commitment letters. All right, so if, again, we're asking you to project this early. In many cases, we know that it's impossible to get agencies to commit to employing the people that you train. That's okay if you don't have commitment letters. They do help in the review process. So if you have those, please include them here. But if you don't have commitment letters, don't let your hair turn gray because of it. Okay. All right, now I'm in the budget section. And the budget section is where you have to be very, very specific. We have several categories. Personal services is the area where the individual that's working on a project is employed by your agency. It's not a contractor, it's someone that is employed by your agency. We have a list of ones that are the most used. You may not have see the one that you necessarily need here, but the ones that are usually chosen are the admin assistant, the accountant, the director, the executive director, financial officer, OJT employee, program coordinator, etc. All right, so you'll select the one that closest matches the one that you have. If the one that you need is not on here, select other here, and then down below you'll be able to enter what that role is. Okay. Quantity, there have been several ways of doing this. So you can put quantity of one with the rate for the entire year, or you can put they're going to be working 700 hours or how many hours they're going to work and their rate is $43.12. It's totally up to you how you do it. I'm going to say this person's going to work. I'm going to do a quantity of one, and the rate for the year is going to be 100,000. Okay. It automatically puts the entire amount under subaward amount. But let's say I'm going to contribute 50% of this. So I have to manually update it. I'm going to put 50,000 here and 50,000 under sub-recipient contribution. Right. Again, the line must match what you have on the left-hand side.
Clarification on employment question. We have a program where we hire individuals as temporary full-time to start and have the goal to get them to regular full-time through placement in our organization. If it is temporary full-time in the way described above, is that acceptable as an employment outcome?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a great question. You're trying to challenge us, and I actually appreciate that. Okay, so the way to answer that question is this. When, at the end of the year, at the end of the grant year, the research analysis team with the Department of Labor is going to follow the participant from the time they finish until up to a year. So they do it twice. They do it from 1 to 6 months and then 7 to 12 months. Right? So, and they look at the wage data. So if they're working, it counts. If they're not working, it doesn't count. Does it make sense? Does that answer the question? So it's based on what happens after training has been completed. But that's how the outcomes are determined. You thought I was going to have an answer for that.
Offer apprenticeships for participants of other organizations, and they all have certain restrictions that allow or don't allow apprentices to join our workforce development program. The way I see it, we would use this program separately to remove some of our partners' barriers. Our partners also apply. Would this hinder our chances?
A contractor? Like they're like a
It
contractor?
won't hinder their
But
chances.
it won't hinder the chances, but as long as they're not providing
The same service.
for the same participant.
So that's a great question. So
Yeah.
and keep it, this same premise follows the job center as well.
Yes.
So if you provide a service to the participant, you must keep that same service, supply that same service no matter where they go. All right, so if you're providing the training aspect, you cannot send the participant to the job center to pay for that same exact training. The job center can pay for things that participants need for the training, perhaps tools and things like that, but they can't pay for the training itself. If you provide the tools or you provide the support services, you must provide the support services for the entire time they're in this training. The job center will not be able to pay for the training, or any other organization can pay for any participant services for that participant at all. It is incumbent upon the agency to continue paying those services. Okay. So you can't, it doesn't necessarily hinder you, but you must work with the partner agency that you're working with so that you're not providing the exact same service. I'll click save it next. Under employee travel, this is for employees traveling to an area to train participants. Okay. If you have employees that you're training, that travel would not go in this section. Okay. It will go under participant services. So if anybody that you're training, they're considered participants, and that's going to go under participant service. This is strictly for staff that is doing the training or have to travel to provide training. Okay. Per diem in the state of Alaska for the state is $45 for the first and last day, $60 for the days in between. If your rate is higher than that, that's okay. Just remember, the state will only reimburse you those amounts, the 45 and the 60. Anything above that is the responsibility of the agency. If you are sending someone out of state for any type of training, you can use the per diem rate on gsi.gov to find out the rate for the city or state your participant is traveling to or your employee is traveling to. You can go by that per diem rate at that time, but you must use another per diem rate line. You can't use the one that we have already in our travel section because it's specific to Alaska. Like these ones, the per diem, the first day and full day. Use other and write in and put in the actual per diem rate. Okay. So I'm going to say per diem for Texas, Dallas, Texas. All right. And you can put quantity of one and just put the total amount of the per diem. Just make sure you follow the federal government uses the same premise for per diem rates. It's 80% for the first and last day, 100% for the days in between. 75%, I'm sorry, 75% for the first and last day, 100% for days in between. Okay. So I'm gonna say the per diem is 400, oh, not 4,000.
Who is not an employee of the agency.
I'm gonna get there in just a second, so hold that question.
Contractors, yeah,
I'm gonna get there in a second.
yeah, it'd be a contract.
All right, and I'm there. I'm in contractual. All right, so any employee, not employee, any person that you're contracting to do any type of work with you is gonna go in your contractual section. So if you're contracting someone to do your training, you're gonna put all of that under contractual section. Some contractors put everything on one invoice. They put their travel, their rate for the training itself. They put it all under one invoice, and that's okay as well, as long as they clearly identify what the invoice is for. They also must follow the same per diem rate as the state of Alaska. Okay. They can charge whatever, but they must follow, when it comes to per diem, they must follow the same state guidelines. If they don't follow the same state guidelines, Max will look at it and send it back and say, please update the per diem rate. I know he'll do it because I've seen him do it. All right, any questions about that? Other things that will go into contractual would be insurances, the required insurances that the grant requires you to have, any type of printing that you need done, any rental space for your office or training that you're doing. If you're renting a building to train in, that's fine. Your utilities go here, and any other thing you feel is relevant. Okay. Supplies are those tangible goods that you need for training, not necessarily what the participant's going to take with them. This would be like for if you need some rigging supplies or just general supplies for your classroom, you'll put those here, or for the training itself. I can't think of a really good example of that right now, but they're small tools, training books. These are things that you're going to have on hand for the training itself. The participant's not going to take it with them. This is strictly for the training itself. All right, participant support services. This is where everything goes that is going to be for the participant. Okay, so we have a lot of examples here. So the travel, the per diem, the airfare, mileage for the participants. Mileage typically has to be traveling 50 miles or more out from their home location. Okay. Supplies that the participant is going to take with them. Any type of support services the participant is going to need. If you hire a contractor and the contractor is giving you one rate for the entire class, it's not individual based, it's class based, that goes in contractual. If it's individual based, the contractor charges $2,500 per student, then that goes under participant services. I hope that makes sense. So if there's only one rate that the contractor is charging for the entire class, whether there's 1 or 50 people in the class, it's the same rate no matter what, that goes under your contractual category. If it's based on the participant directly, it's $2,500 per participant. And so if it's one participant, it's $2,500. If it's 50, it's 50 times $2,500. Okay, that's going to go under participant services. Okay. Okay, so administration is limited to 15%, and this includes whether you have an indirect rate or not. So indirect rate is something that is given to you by the federal government, We don't give that rate out here. It's given to those who have federal grants with the federal government. But everyone can claim 15% of administrative. These are costs that you incur to run your organization as a whole. We understand that you have to do certain things to remain in business, and so this is how we kind of help with that, if that makes sense. And if you are unsure what will go in this category, just reach out to us and let us know. All right, that is the last category in the budget. The next section is the source of funds tab. Under the source of funds tab, it automatically calculates what you requested based on what you put in your budget. And it automatically puts the number in every open line here. So you notice there are 2 step lines, general fund, step GF, and then the regular step. Please delete the one under the GF line so that these numbers match. So the total is up here under total expenditures. Make sure that matches under total source of funds. Okay, and then it didn't put anything under contribution. So the other sections, 50,000 under contribution, I need to make sure that I put the 50,000 down here as well. Okay, so the total expenditures and the total source of funds must match. If they don't match, it's going to give you an error. Now, does anybody remember what I put in the overview of the amount I was going to request? $200,000 was the amount I was going to request, and then 400,000. All right, so if I validate the budget right now, it's going to give me an error message. And it's going to give me an error message because this amount that I'm requesting does not match what I put in the source of funds. I'm going to go ahead and validate and see what it says. Error. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to. You just told me that.
200 and 400.
So then you get these cryptic messages. Okay, number one, I didn't put a additional description under personnel services. Shame on me. Then it tells me funds requested 200,000 does not equal the budget amount of 50,400. So it captured what I put in the overview, and notice that this doesn't match that. So if I click here, it's going to take me back to the beginning of the budget so I can fix it. I'm going to view errors again. All right, so notice again, the first set, I did not put anything under others. I didn't give a description, so I'm gonna click on it. It's gonna take me right to that section. Look at that. Okay, so now I'm gonna put a note there. I just put I failed here because I didn't do it. I'm gonna validate that error should be gone now. Still have errors because I still have no updated budget, but notice that first error is gone now. So that's how you can fix your errors. If you click on the error, it'll take you to the specific place you have the error. I'm gonna go back to the overview section. I know I have lots of errors there because I did not fill out all the information. And so I click OK to acknowledge the errors. Is the organization affiliated with a STEP grant? I did not answer that, so I'm gonna click it. It takes me right there and notice it's in red. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna save it. Validate again. Click OK to view the error message. That error is gone. Tell me about my organization cannot be blank. So I'm gonna go ahead and go there. It takes me right to that question. All right, I filled out the information now. I'm gonna validate again. I still have an error. This is where it's telling me I need someone under authorized official, equal employment opportunity officer, financial officer. So I'm gonna go there. All right, again, I told you that the person does not need to have an egress profile. All right, so I'm going to I selected the person or the contact type, and Rue Ocasio is going to be the person. Hey, fill in the address for me.
Is it found?
No, it's going by my agency.
Oh.
All right, I'm gonna do save and next. All right, so when you do save and next, it's going to ask you to click OK to save the contact and add a new one. Or if you're done, you click cancel to go to the next page. I'm gonna click OK. I'm gonna add another person. I did the AK Jobs entry, authorized official. I'm gonna use an eGrants profile this time. All right, and I'm gonna save next. Click OK again. And also, for the grant purposes, you can use the same person for each of these roles. Okay. Just know that we will update that later. It will need to be updated to show who's going to be doing it. But for the grant purposes, you can select the same person. Right, any questions while I'm filling this part out? I think I got them all now, so I'm gonna click cancel. We'll go back and validate. If I miss one, it's going to tell me. No errors found. So now I'm done with that section until I get back to the budget. I'm going to show you one last thing. If there are no questions here, if there's any question here, please go ahead and ask the question. Don't be afraid to. All right. To submit the application, I'm going to go ahead and close it. I'm going to go grantee, grant application, print, and submit application. Right, I want to click on the application I want to submit. There's a validate button. You can go ahead and validate it one more time. It'll validate the whole application and list the errors, but it won't take you to the section that's incorrect. It won't do it. You can also just go ahead and click submit. If there's an error, it won't submit it. It's going to let you know there's an error too. So it validates one more time. I have the errors, but it's going to say this action will promote the grant application to commissioner's review. I'm gonna click OK, but it's not going to submit it because I have errors. Errors found during validation. Right, so I can view the errors here, but all I can do is view it. It won't take me to it. And I got a bunch of them. Okay, so I can click here all I want to. Well, that's going to happen. See? So validate as you go. Validate each section as you go, so it'll take you exactly to the exact spot where you have the error. But if all thing works out, it'll send the application to the commissioner's review. Any questions?
That is the only chance they have to print it, correct?
Great question. Sean asked about printing the application. Before you submit the application, please print the application. Because once you submit, you will not have the option to print it again. Right? So to print the application, you've got two print buttons up here. One has all of your attachments. The other one does not, just the application itself. So choose the version you want, print it here. Again, once you submit it, it's not going to give you a chance to print again. These buttons go away. Okay. Great question. I forgot to mention that. All right, now Questions? Ask anything. You guys are quiet. April, go ahead.
I have a question. Hey, everybody. Thanks for all this information. It's really great. Appreciate it very much. You mentioned something about support letters this time. And you said we didn't have to turn in support letters. Can you revisit that for me, please?
All right, so support letters. So there are two types of letters. There's letters of commitment. These are ones that you know are going to hire the participants, whether it's your agency or a partner agency. And then there's commitment letters. Support letters. Support letters are those that say we support this project. If you can't submit, commitment letters are preferred. Support letters are helpful. Okay. Commitment letters hold more weight. Support letters just show that they just help. If you don't have either, it's okay. It doesn't mean your application is going to be denied. Just know that preference is going to be given to those who have submitted those documents. And just for clarification, please submit your supporting documentation, your letters of support, your commitment letters with the application. We cannot accept them after the application has been submitted. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, we did not get a chance to introduce ourselves because of the technical difficulties that we had in the beginning. We're going to introduce ourselves to you really quick so you know who we are. And again, we'll open the floor for any other question that you may have that you didn't ask. I'll go first. I'm Xavier Phillips. I am one of the grants administrators with the AWIB. And into my left is
I'm Susan Hunter, and I'm a program coordinator. I have 4 grants of my own, and I'm the backup for Sean.
And I'm Sean Pierce. I'm the program coordinator. I promise I'm much better with smaller groups.
That's fine.
My name is Lawrence Gaines. I'm a grants administrator, and I'm on the financial side of it.
I'm Ruta Casio-Lopez. I'm the program coordinator for AWIB.
I'm Max Mix. I'm a grant administrator for the AWeb, and I do, I do all the state grants.
right now, Max is sleep deprived because he has 2 little ones. So Sean and Max are your grants team, and Ruth, myself, Susan, and Lawrence are backup for them. So if you have any questions, please reach out to them first, and then we're happy to help when we can.
Yes, the recording will be available on the website.
Yes, we're gonna put it on the website. Actually, the video itself will be on YouTube, but we'll put the link on the website. So the video is going to be on YouTube. We're going to be famous.
All right.
All right, we're going to hang out a little bit just in case you guys have some questions, but thank you guys for joining us today. We look forward to seeing your wonderful application proposals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know, yeah.
Teresa, did you have a question?
So